Good morning and welcome to Tuesdays with the Pilgrim, the third Tuesday of December, the third Tuesday in Advent, as we continue reading our Christmas stories. And today we're going to read a classic. It's actually not a story per se, but rather a letter. Is there a Santa Claus? This famous editorial first appeared in the New York Sun on September 21st, 1897. So over 100 years ago, but still as inspirational today as it was back then. So let's get to it, shall we? We take pleasure in answering at once, and thus prominently, the communication below, expressing at the same time our great gratification that its faithful author is numbered among the friends of the Sun. Dear Editor, I am 8 years old. Some of my little friends say there is no Santa Claus. Papa says, if you see it in the sun, it's so. Please tell me the truth. Is there a Santa Claus? Virginia O'Hanlon, 115 West 95th Street. Virginia, your little friends are wrong. They have been affected by the skepticism of a skeptical age. They do not believe except what they see. They think that nothing can be which is not comprehensible by their little minds. All minds, Virginia, whether they be men's or children, are little. In this great universe of ours, man is a mere insect, an ant in his intellect as compared with the boundless world about him, as measured by the intelligence capable of grasping the whole truth and knowledge. Yes, Virginia, there is a Santa Claus. He exists as certainly as love and generosity and devotion exist, and you know that they abound and give to your life its highest beauty and joy. Alas, how dreary would be the world if there were no Santa Claus. It would be as dreary as if there were no Virginias. There would be no childlike faith then, no poetry, no romance, to make tolerable this existence. We should have no enjoyment except in sense and sight. The eternal light with which childhood fills the world would be extinguished. Not believe in Santa Claus? You might as well not believe in fairies. You might get your papa to hire men to watch all the chimneys on Christmas Eve to catch Santa Claus. But even if they did not see Santa Claus coming down, what would that prove? Nobody sees Santa Claus, but that is no sign that there is no Santa Claus. The most real things in the world are those that neither children nor men can see. Did you ever see fairies dancing on the lawn? Of course not. But that's no proof that they are not there. Nobody can conceive or imagine all the wonders there are unseen and unseeable in the world. You tear apart the baby's rattle and see what makes the noise inside. But there is a veil covering the unseen world, which not the strongest man, nor even the united strength of all the strongest men that ever lived, could tear apart. Only faith, fancy, poetry, love, romance can push aside that curtain and view and picture the supernatural beauty and glory beyond. Is it all real? Ah, Virginia, in all this world there is nothing else real and abiding. No Santa Claus? Thank God he lives, and he lives forever. 1,000 years from now, Virginia, nay, 10 times 10,000 years from now, he will continue to make glad the hearts of childhood. And that's the editorial. Yes, Virginia, there is a Santa Claus. As famous today as it was all those years ago. Well, now that we've confirmed to Virginia that there is a Santa Claus, let's read another short story by Vera Walker titled The Story of Bride. Away in the green land of Ireland there lived a little girl whose name was Bride. Her hair was nearly as golden as the starry dandelions that grow in the grass. Her eyes were as blue as the sea in summer, and her face was so kind and good that everyone who looked on her loved her. The children loved her, for she was gentle with them when she played, and she took care of the youngest and the weakest. The grown-up people loved her because she was always ready to help them when they were in trouble or difficulty. If a cow had strayed away, it was Bride who went after her, calling and calling till she found where the animal was and brought her back. When Bran, the herd boy, hurt his knee, it was Bride who knew where the herbs grew that would heal the sore place. Babies never cried when she held them. They always settled down in her arms as if she was their real mother and cooed themselves to sleep. As for the cows and the lambs and all the other creatures, why, they would follow her about everywhere, and they would just stand still for as long as ever her hands would stroke them. Now Bride lived in a tiny cottage with Dougal, the herdsman, and looked after his house and milked his cows and spun wool for their clothing. Some say that she was really a king's daughter and had been found by him when she was a tiny child. As Bride went to her work every day, caring for the cows and sweeping the cottage, preparing food or spinning at her wheel in the long evenings, her mind was full of dreams. Often and often she would picture herself the land where the Lord Jesus lived. She thought of him as he went about his daily work in the carpenter's shop, or as he put out his hands to heal the poor lepers and those that were blind and lame. Most of all, she loved to dream of him as he lay in the manger, with his mother bending over him that first Christmas night. One day she went down to the well to draw water for Dougal's horse, her rough blue cloak wrapped around her, her pitcher in her hand. Sitting down by the well, she looked down into the clear, cool water. Up on the rowan tree nearby, a white bird sang marvelously, and as it sang, Bride fell asleep, and as she slept, she dreamed. In her dream, she found herself in a little town in a faraway eastern land, where the hot sun glared down on the flat-roofed white houses, and water was scarce indeed. She dreamed that she was the daughter of an innkeeper there, and that she had been left to care for the guests who came there. People had been coming all day, and the little inn was full. There was not room for a single other guest, nor food for them to eat, nor water for them to drink. As Bride stood looking out into the darkening sky, she saw two travelers coming along the path that led to the inn. One was a tall, grave man who walked with a staff, and the other a tired woman carrying a little babe in her arms. The travelers begged to be allowed to rest a while and to drink some water. What was Bride to do? She went to the little courtyard of the inn and piled together hay so that the mother might rest there. "I have no water," she said sadly, as she put her own rough blue cloak around her. But the woman smiled at her so sweetly that Bride felt as if she must find something for her to drink. She went to the cowshed, and there the cows gave her a little milk. She carried it carefully back to the courtyard, but when she reached it, she started back in surprise, for there sat the mother, holding the babe in her arms, and both shone with a great light and glory. And Bride knew who they were. She knelt down in front of the babe and offered the milk. The woman took and drank it, and then she rose very gently and laid the little babe tenderly in Bride's arms. The man took Bride's cloak and put it around her again, and Bride was filled with such great happiness that she could neither speak nor move. How she came back to Ireland she never knew, but suddenly she found herself sitting by the well again, with her pitcher of water and the white bird still singing in the rowan tree overhead. Presently some children came running towards her. "Bride! Bride!" they called, and then they said, "Oh, look at Bride's cloak!" For all the rough blue cloak that she wore was covered with shining starry jewels, and in the center there was a great star, just such a one as burned in the sky many hundreds of years ago, to tell men that the King of Peace and Goodwill was born. As for Bride, she took up her work again, and her kind deeds and her gentle ways, wearing the cloak with the star of the Christ-child on it as a sign and a glory all her days. So it's a nice little inspirational story for you. I hope you enjoyed that, and the Dear Santa Claus letter, and we will see you Christmas Eve for our Christmas Eve special. Now it's going to be about 45 minutes long because it's a short story, but it's not a short story. And I invite you to put it on and listen to it while you go about doing things you need to get done on Christmas Eve. Decorating the tree, baking cookies, preparing things for Christmas supper, wrapping last-minute gifts, whatever that might be. But you don't need to sit and watch the screen because, as most of my Tuesdays with the Pilgrims are, it's really more a listening adventure than a watching one. But until Christmas Eve, when we have our Christmas Eve special, take care, stay safe, God bless, and Merry Christmas.